The Haunting of Amityville Valak's Shadow. The infamous Amityville house stood shrouded in mist, its towering windows like empty eyes staring into the souls of anyone who dared approach. For decades, the house had been abandoned, its reputation tarnished by tales of unspeakable horrors. Yet for thrill-seekers like Daniel and his friends, it was a siren's call they couldn't resist. On a cold autumn night, Daniel, Sarah, and James entered the house armed with flashlights, cameras, and a growing sense of unease. The air inside was stale, heavy with the weight of years. Creaking floorboards and distant whispers made their every step feel watched. "This place gives me the creeps," Sarah muttered, her voice trembling. "Relax," Daniel said, forcing a grin. "It's just a house. Nothing here can hurt us." As they moved deeper into the house, the temperature dropped, their breath visible in the beam of their flashlights. They stopped in the living room, where the iconic windows loomed overhead. It was then that James noticed a peculiar mark on the wall, a faint outline of a pentagram etched into the wood. "Guys," he whispered, pointing it out. "This isn't normal." The group exchanged uneasy glances. Before they could speak, the sound of footsteps echoed from the upstairs hallway. They froze. "Is someone else here?" Sarah whispered, clutching Daniel's arm. Daniel shook his head. "Only us." They cautiously climbed the staircase, the steps groaning beneath their weight. At the top, the hallway stretched into darkness, doors lining either side like silent sentinels. James led the way, his flashlight casting eerie shadows. He stopped abruptly at a door slightly ajar. Pushing it open, they found themselves in a small bedroom. The air was icy, and the faint smell of sulfur lingered. On the bed sat a doll, its porcelain face cracked, one eye missing. But what chilled them was the writing on the wall above it, scrawled in a dark, viscous substance. "She watches." "Let's get out of here," Sarah whispered, backing toward the door. Before they could leave, a loud bang echoed from downstairs. Their flashlights flickered, and a low, guttural laugh reverberated through the house. "Run!" Daniel shouted. They bolted down the stairs, but the house seemed to warp around them. The hallway stretched unnaturally, doors slamming shut as they passed. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on grotesque forms. Reaching the front door, they found it locked, though no one had touched it. Panic set in as the laughter grew louder, accompanied by faint chanting in an unknown language. "What is that?" James cried, his voice breaking. Then they saw her. At the far end of the hallway stood a figure in a nun's habit, her face pale and demonic. Her eyes burned like embers, and her twisted smile revealed jagged teeth. It was Valak. "Leave this place," she hissed, her voice a blend of menace and mockery. But the door wouldn't budge. The group huddled together as Valak glided toward them, her movements inhumanly smooth. The lights flickered violently, plunging them into intermittent darkness. In the flashes of light, Valak appeared closer each time, her laughter echoing through the house. Daniel fumbled with his backpack, pulling out a crucifix he had brought as a joke. Holding it up, he shouted, "Stay back!" Valak stopped, her smile fading. For a moment, the house fell silent. Then, with a deafening roar, she raised her hand, and the crucifix flew from Daniel's grasp, shattering against the wall. The walls began to bleed, the floor trembling beneath them. The doll from the bedroom appeared at their feet, its head turning toward them with an audible crack. "We have to fight back!" Sarah screamed, grabbing the doll and hurling it across the room. It shattered, and for a brief moment, the house seemed to groan in pain. Seizing the opportunity, the group charged at the door, slamming their shoulders against it. With one final heave, it burst open, and they stumbled outside into the crisp night air. They didn't stop running until they were far from the house, collapsing on the sidewalk in exhaustion. Turning back, they saw the house standing silent, its windows dark. But in one of the upstairs windows, they saw her, Valak, her face illuminated by a ghostly glow, watching them with an expression of triumph. The group never spoke of that night again, but they each bore scars, visible and invisible. Daniel suffered nightmares for months. James refused to leave his house after dark, and Sarah turned to faith, her once skeptical mind shattered by the horrors they had witnessed. The Amityville house remains, a monument to the unknown, and to those brave or foolish enough to enter, it offers only one certainty: Valak still waits.